Hey everyone, I hope you can see me well. If you're on here, let me know that you're on. Hope you can see everything that's going well. If you're on here, let me see that you're on. And at this point, I guess I just wanted to explain who I am. If you haven't already seen me, then my name is Chris Lippincott. I'm a psychic medium and also a best-selling author. And one of the things that I've been doing is to really interact with people who are trying to connect with spirit. And I love bringing through spirit's love. This is something that's really close to my heart. And I wanted to ask everybody, where they're coming in from. Hey, Sheila, how are you? I see you on here. Hey, Sandra, how are you? Hey, Margaret, this is great. Amanda, great seeing you all. If you want to type in, where you're coming from, where you're all hailing from Scotland. Joyce, hello. Amanda in the UK. This is great. Shelley from Pompton Plains. Hi, Shelley, how are you? Great seeing you again. Louisville, Kentucky. Sheila, phenomenal. Boy, we're getting people from not only across the U.S., but we're getting people from across the pond, across the world. This is great. I love seeing this. Um, so one of the things I wanted to do was shortly explain where I came from. What was my spiritual path? Hey, Margaret in Pennsylvania. Awesome. Love to see that. Sandra in Kentucky. Donna in Nashville. Hey, Nashville. Awesome. Vicky in Ohio. Phenomenal. Hi, guys. It's phenomenal seeing you all you here. Um, because one of the things that was so important to me was when I was really young, I was in contact with spirit, but I didn't know what it was. I just thought, like all kids who experience spirit at a young age, I thought it was like monsters, right? I thought I was gonna get dragged underneath the bed, and I thought that there was gonna be all kinds of terrible ramifications. I thought I was gonna get taken down to their lair because I would be in my bed at night and I'd feel a hand on my back, and of course that would scare the daylights out of me, or I'd hear voices in my room, and I knew that there wasn't anybody there because I didn't have any siblings. My parents were at the other end of the house, so I knew that there was nobody there but me and this voice. And of course, obviously, again, as a kid, I was completely, scared out of my mind. And sometimes I'd feel these energy blankets wrapping around me, and it was really something that completely freaked me out as a kid because I didn't really know how to handle it. Um, but hey, Billio from Maine, phenomenal. Rhode Island, Susan, hey, how you doing? Vicky, great seeing you. Um, but yeah, just going back to my entire childhood, this was going on for years, and I would also be in contact with, the energy in, like bushes or the trees or animals. So I was very sensitive to the energy, but I just didn't really know what it was. Yeah, I think a lot of kids are like that. I also had the imaginary play dates, right? I had the imaginary friends. A lot of kids have imaginary friends because it's very easy to do. I was an only child, so I could easily connect with, my imagination, thinking, okay, I just want to, hang out with kids that are people as well. But what I didn't really realize, and of course now hindsight's 2020, right, is that when I was speaking to these imaginary playdates, these imaginary friends, they were talking back to me and I could have full conversations with them. I didn't think there was anything crazy about that. I didn't think there was anything strange about it. But it was something that continued to happen. Hey, Beverly, Chicopee, Massachusetts. Awesome. Great to have you here. Um, but one of the things that's so important that I was not realizing was that spirit can connect with us anytime, anywhere. It's us that has to be open. We're the ones that have to be really allowing, trusting, surrendering. And as children, that's exactly what we are. We're always being open and aware and allowing. So that's something that's so important, so critical. And if we allow this to happen, then spirit comes right in because they're sending us their love. They're sending us their uh, ability to know what they're feeling and we're feeling. And of course, as I grew older, what wound up happening, I would just begin to get very materialistic and very logical and very analytical, right? That's kind of what happens to all kids. Eventually, they grow older and they start getting, matter of fact about things. So that would happen to me. And eventually, I thought, oh, well, I've got to get rid of these childish things, and I don't want to deal with this anymore. So I would suppress it. So I did that for many decades, and I eventually I went off into finance, and I tried to make a career, and I was really focused on the analytical world, and so I dismissed anything that had to do with anything that had to do with fantasy. I just let that go. And when I was in finance, I found that I was getting really stressed out. So I then turned to meditation. Finally found a way to meditate that resonated with me. Every person's different, right? So I found a way that resonated with me, that made sense to me, and I enjoyed. And so I wound up doing meditation for about 10 minutes every day. Really simple. Before I went to the office, I'd just, be in my own personal office at home, and I'd meditate for 10 or 15 minutes. And that was great. I'd get hooked. Next thing I know, I'm doing this every day for about 12 months because I enjoyed it so much. I didn't know what was really happening. But what it turns out really happened was that those 12 months of meditating every single day moved my awareness, moved my inner being to a place that was completely different. It really was a type of meditation, and I didn't realize this, of course, again, until hindsight, as I look back on it. It really wasn't until later on that I was finding out that this was something I was connecting with spirit in the meditation, doing a sitting in the power meditation. So I was raising my vibration, I was raising my energy, and that enabled me to then again connect with spirit. And sure enough, 12 months almost to the day, I was in my man cave. Every guy's got to have his man cave, right? So I was in my man cave doing a meditation. I was getting really deep into my meditation, and all of a sudden, I find myself floating outside my body, having this surreal experience where all of a sudden there are these four spirit people that kind of come to me in my mind's eye, two on my left, two on my right. And the one all the way on the right was like this really big, strong energy, tall guy. And he shoots this beam of energy straight through my chest, out my back, right? I'm like, what's going on? And I knew I was not asleep because I could feel it. I could feel this energy. It was intense. And as I'm feeling that energy, it's like this bolt of love energy that like shot through me, and it was something that was so amazing, so strong, so tangible that I just didn't want to let it go. And the more I connected with it, the more I felt that I was connected to love and spirit, and I could feel like I was in this ether, this place where I was connected to everything and nothing. I was everywhere and nowhere at the same time. And I was connected to a thread of love that was connected to everything. And it was a feeling of total acceptance, unconditional love, a feeling that the word love in the English language doesn't even begin to describe. And eventually I came out of it, at 15 minutes later, dumbfounded, sat there for a while. I had to gather my thoughts, ran to my desk, started writing down everything that was going on. And at that point, that's when the portal reopened. All of a sudden, I felt that amazing, tingling, effervescent champagne like tingling bubbles, energy blanket going all around me again. I could hear voices again. I could sense people were around me that I couldn't see with my physical eyes. I could sense things and see things with my third eye. And all of a sudden, I knew that all of a sudden, like something had happened, like somebody had turned on the light. It's like a light switch had been turned back on all of a sudden. So this was amazing. And so the ultimate question becomes, as I began to learn about my mediumship, what is it that describes spirit? Because when we're all talking about spirit and we're all trying to learn about spirit, what is it that we use? How do we describe spirit? How can we better explain it both to ourselves and to people? And I find like this is like one of the biggest things that we need to find out as kind of like people in the human race. Um, and this is something that we find that's really amazing. So if we're able to connect with spirit, then that's something that we've really got to get our arms around. Can we do this? Because there's so many people that are still locked up in a materialistic world. So many people that are locked up in a tangible place where they're focused on what is it that they need to know now. They're focused on what is it they can see, because in their mind, seeing is believing, when in fact it's just the reverse. Believing is seeing. And quantum physics has kind of come to show us that, in fact, that's really the way it is. Quantum physics has shown us that 99.9999% of everything in existence is empty space. And that empty space is just nothing but energy at a high vibration, different vibrations depending on different situations and different particles. Look at like the carbon atom, for example. You go to the carbon atom and you look at the nucleus of the carbon atom, blow it up to the size of a golf ball. The electron is going to be 22 miles away. And between the nucleus and the electron, it's empty space. It's just energy. And that energy's got a vibration. So the chairs that we're sitting on right now, we experience them as a material thing, hard thing, right? But in fact, it's nothing but energy. We're energy, chairs are energy, everything around us is energy. And so what happens to our energy that we have within us, that consciousness that we have? As Einstein said, and quantum physics shows us that energy can neither be created nor destroyed, it can only change form. And so that's exactly what happens to us. We change form. It's not like it can be destroyed, because we can't be destroyed. Can the light that comes forth from a star ever be destroyed? No. What happens with a star, even after that star has died, the light that is moving forward after it comes out of a star, that light continues to move forward because it's energy. And the energy can neither be created or destroyed. It just changes form. So it just continues to move forward. So that's really what spirit is. It's our consciousness that's still very much alive. And this is something that's really so amazing to think about, that we're all spirit. We're spirit in the physical world. We're spirit incarnate. Whereas those people that have transitioned to the spirit world are now spirit discarnate. So when spirit is trying to connect with us, it becomes something that is from spirit, through spirit, the medium, to spirit. And that's really us. That's how the communication occurs. Um, and ultimately, it's a question of how do we connect and shift our awareness so that we can then connect with spirit ourselves. Because I'm sure everybody wants to be able to connect with spirit in some fashion, or at least become more aware, shift their awareness, raise their spiritual vibration, increase their spiritual growth. Well, one of the ways that we can do that is just go right back to your meditation, because meditation is one of the biggest ways that we can shift our awareness, because typically we're so focused on the everyday, the mundane, the material, that our minds are kind of locked up in the material world. When we begin to start meditating every single day, then that's when we really start to feel a shift. We become more aware of the non-material part of existence. And that's something that is really, quite amazing. And obviously, meditation is something that even if you're not seeking to connect with spirit, that's going to be something that's going to be very beneficial to you, even just health wise, physicality. I mean, there have been so many studies that have shown that meditation is highly beneficial, whether it's helping to reduce stress, lowering blood pressure, helping insomnia, uh, reducing um, the problems with aging. It improves our emotional stability. I mean, there's a whole list. I mean, for example, like the 12 benefits: reduces stress, controls anxiety, increases your emotional health so that you're able to really focus on a more positive outlook as you're kind of going forward in life. We talked about lowering the effects of age-related diseases and problems like that. It also enhances your self-awareness. You really begin to become more aware of what's going on in your body, in your mind, what's happening with you. It certainly lengthens your attention span because when you're meditating, you're focusing on one thing, whatever that one thing is. You're trying to make sure that your mind is not racing back and forth about 20 things at once. Did I feed the dog? Did I pay the bills? Did I close the door? Did I do this? Did I do that? You've taken the attention span of your mind to one thing. Maybe you're focusing on your breathing. Maybe you're focusing on a visualization. But whatever it is, it's helping your attention, your focus, and that's huge. And that's really where meditation, to me, that's like the biggest benefit. It really helps your attention span. A lot of people say that they have the biggest hurdle is focusing in meditation. We can get into that in a moment because I hear that all the time. And of course, there are a lot of other benefits to meditation because it helps you raise your loving kindness and your empathy and your feelings for others because you are shifting differently. Helps you sleep. It really helps you focus on controlling the pain because you're working on the mind. I mentioned blood pressure, and the best part about it is it can be done anywhere. Now, you could be on a bus and meditate, and you don't have to do it very long. You can do it 5 or 10 minutes. So long as you're doing consistently, so long as you're meditating consistently, then that's all you need to do. Meditate consistently, meditate on a a very regular basis, and so long as you're meditating 5 or 10 minutes every day, that's it. What's so bad about meditating? It really ultimately has a phenomenal benefit for everybody. So one of the things I'd love to do is kind of open it up to your questions and really kind of see, what questions that you have. What are some of the things that I can try to help you with? Because I know a lot of people have questions about, how do I meditate better? How do I quiet my mind? Um, and Regina is actually saying meditation is quieting. It's a key to connecting to spirit. And she's absolutely right. Because when you're trying to connect to spirit, when you're really working on your mediumship or just trying to listen to spirit, you've got to be able to quiet the mind. How do you quiet the mind? You've got to be very focused. And you've got to allow your thoughts to just really relax and slow down and allow yourself to get into a more, dare I say, transcendental state. Get into a state that's much calmer, get into a state that's much more relaxed, much more focused, because it's so easy that if you're allowing your everyday thoughts to get involved, you just really start to have serious problems. And a man is asking a great question. How do I open my mind? Well, one of the ways that you can certainly do that is to, again, focus on meditating when you're just allowing. Because what we often do is we often force ourselves to think one thing or act a certain way, or we think that we have to have our thoughts silenced. But that's not the way meditation works because we're human. We cannot silence our thoughts. That's impossible. The only thing that we can do is to take our thoughts, acknowledge them as they come in, and then allow them to move out. And the more we stop fighting our thoughts, and the more we're focusing on one thing, say, for example, breathing or maybe a visualization, and the more we're focusing on that one thing, the less we're going to be paying attention to the thoughts, and the thoughts just begin to drift into the background. So that would definitely be a way to open your mind. That would definitely be a way to allow your mind to start drifting out and start to see what is it that you're experiencing. And Shelley's asking, how about sleeping and dreaming? That you're with people that you don't know. Well, one of the things that you may be connecting with are perhaps you're connecting with guides. Perhaps you're connecting with people that you knew in a prior life. Is it possible that you're connecting with people that you knew in a previous life? I don't see why that's not possible at all. I think that's actually quite a real possibility, because as we transition, we move in soul groups, we move in soul families. We've got very large families, and we'll go, say, 150 members of this soul family, and we're all interacting with each other in different roles, in different incarnations. Let's say, for example, in one incarnation, I might be a father to somebody. In another incarnation, I might be their child or their wife. Maybe I'm the baker down the road, whatever it is. I happen to take on a role that helps that person with their life, with their growth, with their learning, with their experiences. We all have different roles to play, and we're constantly playing. It's like Shakespeare said, um, all the world's a stage, and we're just actors upon it. That's kind of the way it is here. Yet we're just constantly playing different roles, putting on different costumes again and again and again and again and again and again. This doesn't stop. Um, and Vicky's asking, do you constantly receive messages from the spirits? Are images always coming forth? Vicky, that's a great question. One of the things that's so important, especially for a medium, is to learn when to open up and learn when to close down. Because if you're a medium and you're always open to spirit, then you're never going to get a wink of sleep because they're constantly bombarding you. I can think of one TV medium right now whose name shall be remain nameless that is always open, never shuts down. She's always open to spirit, and they're always coming to her, and that's just going to degrade. It's like having office hours, right? You've got to say, okay, now my office hours are open. Come on, spirit, let's work together. I'm here to serve you. I'm here to help others. Let's, work together. When the time's done, you look at your clock, your watch, and you say, okay, everything's done. Office is closed. Spirit, we're not working anymore. That's what you got to say. And not enough people do that. Not enough people know that they're supposed to close down. So when you want to connect, you open up. You turn on the little light switch, or you flip the little sign on your office or your storefront that says open. And when you're closed, you turn out the light, turn the sign that says closed, and that's that. And then Margaret's saying that she's had visions while awake, and in a few days these visions happen. Well, that sounds like you've got premonitions. It really sounds like you're awake, and it really sounds like you're certainly connecting to spirit, and it sounds like you're certainly seeing things, feeling things, knowing things. It makes me think that you've certainly got an ability to go out and work with spirit. And then the ultimate question becomes, Why does a person want to work with spirit? What's the motivation? Ultimately, the motivation has got to be to serve spirit. It's got to be one of service. It's got to be one of comforting others, being of service, being helping, serving source. What is it that is going to be beneficial to others? Giving back. That's really the motivating force. So perhaps you want to do that. Perhaps you feel like you want to be caring, healing. Maybe you want to heal other people. Um, and Shelley's asking, is that what deja vu is? Shelley, I'm not quite sure what, because deja vu is scientifically what people are saying. Deja vu is that it's the sudden electrical impulse from one side of the brain to the other, and your brain's only recognizing it in a split second. Um, so that's one aspect of it. But when you're starting to see images and they actually happen, that would be a premonition. Sometimes you actually may get a physical image in your awareness, and that could be your guides showing you something. Your guides are saying, watch out, you better watch, this is going to happen, or and they're trying to protect you in some way. So I would be open to your guides as well. And then Dante, excuse me if I'm mispronouncing your name, says, what does it mean when you see colors when in a meditation? That's a great question. When you're seeing colors in a meditation, that's quite often something where you're connecting with your inner spirit's connection to the world around you. It could also be that you're working with aura, because as you may know, that we all have an aura that extends upwards of 8 feet. And that's really the 7 layers of the aura, the 7 different energetic bodies that you have. So if you're seeing one particular color, it could also be connecting to one or two specific chakras, each of which have different colors and connect to different people and different abilities. Maybe let's say, for example, you're seeing green. To some people, green is a healing color. So if you're seeing green all over the place, and then maybe you start to feel perhaps healing is something that you're connecting with. It's different for each person because it's like symbols. What is symbolic for you? Um, and Shelley's asking, did we choose the life we have? Absolutely 100%. Before we incarnate, what we do when we're in spirit is we're looking to go into this new life so that we can have certain lessons and learn certain lessons. And the way we learn certain lessons is through different challenges, different experiences, different ways of being. It's like the example I always use is tell a 5-year-old not to touch the top of a hot stove. He'll never listen. The only way he'll learn that lesson is if he touches the hot stove and feels the incredible pain. Once that 5-year-old touches that hot stove, feels the intense pain, he will never, ever again touch that hot stove. He's learned his lesson. It was a painful experience, but it was a very strong lesson. Now, we could talk to him all day long and he just won't listen. But once he goes through that experience, he'll learn the lesson. And that's what we do. When we come into Earth, we're here to learn our lessons. Earth is nothing but a school. It's called Earth School. And every life that we come in, we're here to learn from it. We're here to learn the lessons, the challenges, the experiences. We may have these horrible experiences in our life, whether it's financial hardship, relationship hardship, things that cause us frustration and anger. Well, these are just nothing but challenges and experiences that we undergo so that we learn from them. And the more we learn from them, the more we grow. We're trying to learn the lesson. And just like if you're in grade school, until you learn all of the lessons in that grade and you've gotten a passing score so that you've learned all the lessons in that grade, it's not until then can you pass on to the next grade. Once you pass all the lessons in that one grade, you'll go up to the next lesson and the next grade, just like here. Until we learn the lessons in one life, we're going to keep repeating the same lessons over and over and over again until we get it. Sometimes it takes us a couple times to actually figure out what that lesson is. Um, and Vicky's asking, term selection concerns you because your life experiences have included a lot of trauma and tragedy. Well, that's certainly something that's very, part of our human existence. We're here to learn. Um, and Shelley's asking, do we have a predetermined death date? As far as the time of transition, we have typically will create three different exit points, and it depends on where we are in our lessons. Have we learned most of our lessons? Do we feel that we're fully complete with all of our lessons? And if our soul, which is different than our spirit, because our soul is kind of like the big sphere that houses our spirit. Our spirit's what is incarnate within us right now, and then that transitions into the spirit world, and think of it as our oversoul, as it were. It's that soul that gives us the higher knowledge we're feeling. Once it's determined, and once we figure that we've learned all those lessons, then one of those three exit points may have actually been achieved. And we're like, okay, it's now time. Sometimes people, for example, may take their own life before they've learned the lessons, and therefore it's before they've undergone that exit point, and they leave too early. And that's why sometimes they have to undergo sort of lessons in the spirit world because they cheated themselves. Not only did they cheat everybody here, but they cheated themselves from not learning all the lessons. They're like, oh, why did I do that? I kind of screwed myself up by not learning all the different lessons. And Cindy's asking, is there a point when you stop reincarnating? Yeah, that's a great question. Ironically, it's been known that we reincarnate upwards of 400 times. That's a lot. Now, again, it depends on how many times you need to come back to learn the different lessons. Because think of it this way. The Earth School that we're on now is an incredible place to get higher education. It's like saying, okay, do I want to learn in the university or do I want to just kind of like sit back in the Caribbean and not learn at all? Now, we could go to the spirit world and say that we're just going to relax and certainly we're going to learn things, but we're not going to learn them as rapidly or as well as if we're going to go through the intense, fast experiences of the Earth School. This is where it happens. This is where we learn, and we learn fast. We may learn painfully, but that's how we learn fast. It goes back to that 5-year-old kid with the hand on the stove. He'll learn fast once he touches that stove. So again, the number of reincarnation occurrences really depend on how many different lessons you want to learn and how many times it takes you to learn the same lesson. Sometimes it may take you a lot. And Dottie's asking, what does it mean when a person dreams about their life and the people and experiences? Great. Dreams are actually very interesting to talk about because dreams can be very specific about what you're undergoing at that time. Of course, there are parts of the dreams that we're undergoing that are just our subconscious mind trying to deal and grapple with what's going on with everyday life. And that's totally normal because our subconscious has to deal with it because there are so many things that we just don't understand. But there are also a lot of times where the dreams that we experience are actually our recollections of going to the astral world and connecting with spirit. Because every night, absolutely every night, we all, doesn't matter who you are, we all go to the astral world. We all travel. We have a golden cord, very flexible, and when we're asleep, we travel to the astral world every single night. And we have uh, contact with family, friends, guides, you name it. And when we come back, sometimes we may remember that. Sometimes we may have such an intense encounter, maybe with a loved one, that's a really, really vivid encounter. That's a dream visitation. Maybe you've encountered a loved one and you've had this dream that is so intense, you remember it for years. It's vivid. You can recall the details. You can recall the smells. You can recall what the person was wearing, what was going on, the exact conversation, the words. It's so vivid that you could do a play-by-play analysis many years later. You can't do that with a regular dream. That's a dream visitation. That's happened to me a whole bunch of times. My parents came to me, my grandparents came to me. I even saw at one point my grandmother standing at the top of the stairs in a dream, and she looked like she was, oh, I don't know, 30 years old. I had never seen a picture of my grandmother looking 30 years old. I was like, but somehow I knew who it was, and I had this incredible conversation with her. And it was amazing. So yes, our dreams can be very visceral, very detailed, and when they're connecting with spirit like that, that's when it really is quite amazing. Um, and Kathleen's asking, do we reunite with our soul pack before reincarnating? Yes. Short answer, yes. Because what has to happen is that we have to go back to our soul family to connect, to understand what's going on, and then we'll see, uh, what we're trying to do to help other people in our family, in our soul pack, and we can't really reincarnate unless we're reincarnating to help somebody else. So the short answer is most often we're going to consult with the rest of our soul pack and say, okay, now let's all plan on, who's going to take what role in this next play. It's not like we all come back simultaneously. It's more sort of individualized. Now, sometimes there are people who break away from the soul pack. You don't have to stay with that pack. You don't have to stay with that soul family. It's really more that you're hanging out with people that have similar mindsets, similar likes and dislikes, things that you want to. It's like birds of a feather flock together, that kind of mentality. And that is also where you really get this cohesiveness where eventually over time the connection becomes one like it's very much like a family. Um, and there's another question here. Are my dreams have their names but no faces? So you're understanding names but no faces. Uh, Perhaps they're trying to explain to you different ways of expressing themselves. Maybe I would go back and ask them if it's constantly happening, then this is something that you may want to know better. Um, and Eileen's asking, is our soul pack usually our family? Since the soul pack is so large, it'll include members of your family, but it'll include many other people. So, like I was saying earlier, your current family, let's say your current spouse or your current child, could have been the baker down the street in a prior life, could have been anybody. Because think of it, if the soul pack is so large, there's so many people involved that you could be interweaving in different times. However, what you find is that typically you'll have the whole pack, and then you'll have like sub packs. And then within that sum pack, you frequently are getting there's more of a magnetic cohesiveness. Um, and Vicky's asking a very good question. What is the difference between your spirit and your soul? The spirit is what's inside us right now. It's the spirit incarnate. It's our essence. It's our true human essence. Who is it that we are? It's our consciousness, because it's the conscious energy that we have that never dies. For example, the difference between the me, in quotes, that you think of when you're age 5 versus the me that you are when you're in 105, the person that you're thinking of when you're talking to yourself in your mind doesn't age. Same person. That's the spirit. That's the consciousness. That's your spiritual awareness. The soul is the energetic part of you that never leaves the spirit world and is something that you always reunite with. The spirit, once it transitions out of the body into the spirit world. And it is part and parcel of what you left behind in the spirit world. It's always there. It never will leave. The spirit will then reunite with the soul. And the spirit is really here to experience different aspects of materiality, different aspects of the world, different aspects of growth. Because the more that you're experiencing, the more that you're learning, all those different aspects are then taken back to the soul, and the soul itself grows because it's the soul that ultimately wants to grow. And of all the different times that we reincarnate and we learn and we're growing, eventually we're going to reunite with source energy from whence we came. So it's going to be something that we're always interested in seeing. How can we grow? How can we learn? What is it that we need to know to finally achieve so much soul growth that we are able to finally take on the characteristics and the attributes of source so that we can become at one with source? And that takes a long time. Hence the concept of 400-ish different types and different times of reincarnation. Oh, Michelle's saying it's definitely a great book. Well, yeah, that was actually one of the things I wanted to remind you, that this was the book that I wrote. And this thing, Spirits Beside Us, was a book that I only wrote in like 3 or 4 months, and it was just published like that. And it was so much fun. I loved writing it, and hopefully it explains everything that I know about spirit. First section is all about kind of my spiritual path, my spiritual journey, what I know to be true about spirit. And because I came from such a logical, quantitative background, I had to use science to understand what spirit really was. And that's what really kind of got me, is like when I could finally use science to explain all the things that were going on in my life. I was like, I can see it happened. And then I finally said, okay, now that I understand it, and I started learning about it and practicing it and taking so many classes from so many different mentors for so many years, I finally said, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And this is kind of, where I am. So I hope that answers everybody's questions. I've been kind of rambling on here for a good 45 minutes. And I am so happy that everybody's been able to, be here and be part of this, Facebook Live event. And I hope that, you've been somewhat, helped, and that I've tried to answer your questions to the best of my ability. And I'm going to be doing this every week, Wednesday at 5:30. So, keep coming back, and talk about different topics as they come here, and certainly be looking forward to answering all of your questions. So, look forward to seeing all of you again in the future. So with that, I will sign off for now. Thanks for your help. Bye-bye.